All right, stop us if you've heard this one before. A Canadian company wants to build a big open pit mine in Boise County. Well, this idea has been proposed multiple times over the years. The latest attempt is actually still possible. Probably because, and despite the possibility, that it could drastically change the landscape of the Boise Basin, both physically and economically. Hundreds of jobs created, but it could also cause a lot of environmental problems. Those two sides have been at odds for at least the last 15 years, when former KTVB reporter Doug Petcash shed some light on this back in 2009 into today's 208 Redial.
Mining made Boise County what it once was. Many years ago, the riches in its mountains and streams drew miners by the thousands, all seeking their fortune. The streamside scars and many abandoned mines remain, but the jobs largely moved on.
Typically, our young folks have to leave the county for high-paying jobs.
Like most of the country, Boise County is feeling the effects of the economy. Its unemployment rate stands at 9.5%.
It's been difficult.
Greg Simeone owns the Mercantile in the Garden Valley town of Crouch. He says customers are spending less.
I need to get $15 on the outside pump.
Last winter was really tough. We had to lay off some employees.
But a major mine proposed for the nearby hills could someday bring a lot more people through the Merc's doors. It's called the Kumo Mine. The site is in the backcountry between Garden Valley and Idaho City. Workers with Vancouver, British Columbia-based Mosquito Consolidated Gold Mines are now drilling for core samples to figure out if the area is worth mining. The company president says it looks very promising.
It's a world-class deposit.
Brian McClay estimates the ore is worth between $10 and $16 billion. The area contains copper and silver, but the main mineral is molybdenum, known as moly. It's used to strengthen steel. McClay says if the project goes through, it would create hundreds of construction jobs, 500 or so permanent jobs on site, and countless indirect jobs.
Large revenue generating, large employer, large tax generator, and this will probably be one of the richest counties in Idaho.
The economics make the project intriguing to Boise County Commissioner Jamie Anderson.
And there would be, that benefit for in the future for the young people of this county to have an employment base, high-paying jobs.
Potentially.
And Greg Simeone, who is also the Garden Valley Chamber of Commerce president, agrees.
We want to enhance the economic development of our valley, thus the county, but also preserve quality of life.
And therein lies the dilemma, economics versus the environment.
Underneath us right now, off to the left.
The Idaho Conservation League recently invited us along on a flyover of the proposed Kumo site.
That's the site of the proposed Kumo Mine.
Mosquito Consolidated says the moly deposit is one of the world's largest, accessible by open pit mining. This is what the site could someday look like, only bigger. This is the Thompson Creek Moly Mine near Chalice. Basically, the operation would turn a mountain into a pit. This PowerPoint presentation from Mosquito Consolidated's website shows how the Kumo project would grow over the decades. Not only would there be a big pit, but also immense piles of waste rock and tailings. The site sits near Grimes Creek, which flows into Morse Creek and then into the Boise River. The Conservation League and other environmental groups worry about possible pollution, such as acid mine drainage.
The river here is the lifeblood of the Treasure Valley. Not only does it provide 20% of Boise's drinking water, but it's also an important source for irrigation and recreation.
When you're moving a mountain, literally tearing a mountain down and putting the spoils in all of the valleys which percolate water through, you're talking a time bomb.
But McClay says the company's environmental studies show no risk.
The rock is acid neutralizing, so it's there's no concern there.
This is exactly what other open pit mines have said before, and these mines ended up having water quality problems.
If I felt I would endanger any man, woman, and child or anyone living, I'd stop. The project would stop, and I'd drop the project like a hot rock.
McClay says they are assessing every concern imaginable. I questioned him about a statement on their website.
And in fact, the mine development should lead to an overall improvement in the environment rather than a degradation. Can you explain that?
Well, like I said, there's been extensive placer mining. They used mercury, which is just pure and simply a killer. And so all that will be reclaimed and reworked and neutralized.
Now is the time for people to educate themselves, not only about the valley of the Boise River, but about the risks upstream.
A project of this size impacts a lot of people, and we want their input.
McClay says the project is in its very early stages and actual mining could be 5-10 years away. And that's if they determine it would be feasible and profitable and no major problems pop up. The people we talk to in Boise County will be watching closely with open minds but wary eyes, deciding if they want to reclaim the county's mining past as part of their future.
It should be on the table to figure out how does it benefit us. But whoa, on the other side, what could the impacts be?
And as all of us do, value this quality of life, and so that is the challenge to preserve that and survive economically.
This will be interesting.
Doug Petcash, Idaho's News Channel 7.
Okay, so here we are 15 years later, and the proposed mine is still in the exploration stage, and they are still taking your input on it. But a lot has happened since we first aired that story back in 2009. 3 years afterwards, the company withdrew its plan because a federal court decided the Forest Service did not fully consider the impacts drilling would have on groundwater. That same year, in 2012, the Canadian company Mosquito Consolidated Gold Mines had a change in leadership, getting rid of Brian McClay, who had been president for more than 20 years. The next year, they changed their name to American Kumo Mining Corporation, or Kumo Co. Then in 2015, Kumo Co. resubmitted the plan permits for that mine. But again, they were withdrawn for the same reason as mentioned above. Well, the Forest Service didn't do the required environmental impact study. Last year, Idaho Copper, formerly Kumo Co., but still based in Canada, put in another proposal to drill. So the Forest Service, well, they put out a draft environmental assessment last month, which lays out what would happen should this plan get approved, including 4 years the company would have to build almost 9 miles of roads and 122 drilling pads on the almost 3,000-acre project. The company will then be responsible for removing and restoring the roads and the pads within 2 years after the exploratory drilling is done. That's all they're looking for at this point, just approval for the exploration. But the same environmental concerns remain: water pollution, jeopardizing the Boise River fishery downstream, and disturbing habitats for wildlife. So there's still a lot to consider and a lot to hear that they want to hear about, I should say. And if you want to say in the project, you can still submit your public comment online through this Friday, just a few more days. Go to Kumo Exploration Project page on the Forest Service website to find the environmental assessment and also where you can comment.